This is a tutorial intended for students in a course showing how to run an independent samples t-test in SPSS. The scenario is this: in a study of methods to produce sheep's milk for use in cheese manufacturing, ewes were randomly allocated to either a mechanical or a manual milking method. The researchers suspected that the mechanical method might irritate the udder and thus produce a higher concentration of somatic cells in the milk. So when you open up SPSS, the first thing that you have to do is, or the first thing that comes up is going to be a data sheet, which looks like a spreadsheet. And this is the data view tab as shown here. You can also click on the variable view tab. So that's the data view, variable view, and the variable view is where we're going to input the variables that will show up as the column headings on the data sheet. So for this particular variable, it's going to be the response variable, and that's going to be the somatic cell count. SPSS doesn't like spaces, so we're just going to put somatic count. And it will automatically populate. We have to choose the type of variable. It is a numeric variable, so that's good. There's all kinds of other options here. Numeric variable for our somatic count is correct, and the width of the column is fine, and I want 2 decimal places, so that's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I do need to make sure, as I move across here, that the measure matches the type of variable. Right now it's set at nominal, but I have a numeric variable, so I'm going to click on this and select scale for the numeric variable. Great, and you can go back to the data view and see that the column heading is now somatic count. It has to be numbers, that's what the little ruler indicates. So even if I were to type in some letters, it wouldn't take the letters, it has to be numbers. So now I'm going to enter the explanatory variable or the independent variable. This is either the manual or the mechanical method, so we'll just call it method. And again, SPSS will populate these different columns. And in this case, it's not a numeric variable, it's a text variable, right? It's categorical. So I'm going to select string as categorical. And it defaults to 8 characters. I'll click OK. And again, make sure the measure matches the type of variable. In this case, it's nominal. And so nominal matches a text variable, so that's all fine. So I'm going to go back to the data view now, and I already have entered information in an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm just going to copy and paste the information from my Excel spreadsheet directly into SPSS. So first I'll go over to my spreadsheet, copy the somatic cell count, and come back here. And I will select edit and paste, and there are all of my somatic cell counts. Then I'm going to go over, collect the different methods from my Excel spreadsheet, and then I'm going to paste them into here. So now I have all of my mechanical and manual methods. There was an extra row there, not really sure why, but I'm just going to clear it. Okay, not really sure why that's showing up, but there we go. Okay, so now I want to run my independent samples t-test. So I'm going to go up here to the menus and go over to the Analyze menu. Scroll down to Compare Means. And I'm going to select Independent Samples t-test. And this window comes up. So for the test variable, that's going to be my response variable, so I'm going to move over the somatic cell count into that field. And then the explanatory variable is what they call the grouping variable. So I'm going to go ahead and move that variable over. And then it asks me to define each of the groups. So if I click on this, so you have to basically define the group levels. So here I'm going to define my groups. So I have manual method and I have mechanic method. And this is case sensitive, so make sure that even if there's a typo over on your spreadsheet and you type it in incorrectly, it's not going to pick it up. So just be aware of that. And continue. And then I can just check that my confidence interval is set at 95%. Continue. And then I'm going to click OK. And here it gives me the output, and I'm just going to widen this window. So the group statistics are really important. It tells me, first of all, the sample size in each group for manual and mechanic. And then it gives me the mean somatic cell count for each of those methods, the standard deviation and the standard errors. Importantly though, below is the independent samples test table here. And in here are a bunch of information that's going to be useful. Right here is the T test statistic, and we're going to assume equal variances. So that's the test statistic, the T value, the degrees of freedom, which is going to be my sample size minus 1. And then here is the P value, and this is the significance two-tailed. Don't confuse it with this value over here. You want the P value that says significance two-tailed. So my P value is 0.025. So you would compare your P value of 0.025 to your significance level. Other information that's present here is in these other columns on the table are the mean difference. So that is the difference between the somatic cell count for manual and mechanic. There's also the 95% confidence interval with my lower and upper bounds that indicate that the true population difference falls somewhere between these two values.